Hey guys. Hey everybody, can you hear me? Let me do a quick check here. See what's happening. Let's see here. I really am so new to this stuff. Let's see here. It says live. I'm trying to figure out how to watch the damn chat. Somebody in the comments say yes, yes, I think. Hey guys, okay. Yeah, they're here. I think they can hear me. Okay. So, this is really weird, guys. Just bear with me. Not really sure how to operate this daggum Hangouts, man. This is so weird. I know my lighting is bad in my bedroom, but heck, this is supposed to be a spooky chat anyway, so we'll just go with it. Um, so let's see here. I want to try to. I'm used to being able to see the video. You know what's happening on YouTube, but I'm not. I can't see it, so I don't really know what the heck I'm doing. So I'm just going to go back to the damn to this and just go with this, and I'll try to watch the chat over here on my phone. So anyway, guys, this is what happened. As you know, my last stream, it was called it was called the con update stream. I told a ghost story, and it got the chat stirring, and so while we were in the chat, Marty had said, she'd love to talk about this stuff. And what you guys might not know is that Marty and I had been talking behind the scenes about some things anyway, Con of Thrones things, and Marty is going to uh, come to Con, and she's going to actually read my tarot cards, do a tarot card reading for me. I've never had that done, and I'm really excited about it. And see, turns out, she's been doing this stuff for like 20 years. She's been reading cards. So what I'd like to do, because a lot of you guys in the stream, you know her as Martina um, Twombly, but you know I call her Martingus. she told me to call her Martingus. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Martingus to everybody. Say hey, Martingus.
Hey everybody.
Tell us just a little bit about, as far as we'll get into the ghost stories and stuff in just a minute, but if you wouldn't mind,
Sure.
introduce yourself and tell everybody kind of how you got into this stuff.
Well, again, my name is Marty Twombly. Martingus is a nickname I got from a godfather years and years ago, and I really like the way it sounds. It's really unique and it's weird, and so that fits in with my weird self. But now I started reading cards probably. I'll look off to space here while I'm thinking about how long it's been. James is right, probably over 20 years ago. But yeah, that's just one of the many weird things about my personality is reading tarot cards, and I don't do it a lot. I used to do it quite a bit when I was younger. I don't do it nearly so much now. So when James said that it was going to be his birthday at con, I thought, oh, this is perfect. And honestly, I didn't think he was going to take me up on it. I didn't think he was going to take me up on the ghost story thing either, but I must have just greased the skids just perfect.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Well, you and I, we've hit it off, from day one. Saw you in the chat, and I give out my email address, and you hit me up, and you were always, when I was down in the dumps, you were always there checking on me, and there's a lot of you guys who check on me. But Marty was always there checking on me, and so we got to know each other, and we're right at the same age, a lot of the same interests and stuff. We're both in the Navy. Um, but
Yeah.
when I found out all these cool things, I couldn't let it go. And then when I told that ghost story, I don't know, this was just meant to be. So what I would like to do is I've got some notes. Marty's got some notes. I'd like to just start talking about some of the topics on paranormal topics and stuff. Get
Sure.
Marty's perspective, see what the people are saying in the chat, and we'll roll with it from there. So I've got. You would think I'd have it turned to it, but no, I've got like 20 pages of sports stats here. That's my life. It's a curse. I write so many
I have
notes.
stats on all kind of other stuff, just so that while you're going through. I got stats on all kind of other stuff. I start making crazy lists about gardens I'm gonna have, and I start designing them out. I started redesigning my kitchen, but I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. But yeah, I mean, I sketch out stuff. I got lists of lists. You'd think I was
Well,
OCD. I got lists all over the house. I keep notepads all over the house.
very similar, man. If you don't mind, while I'm looking for this, if you would kind of tell me, what's the origin of like tarot readings and stuff? Is it in the same family? Because I lump it in there with like people who read crystal balls or palm readers, or how did that all?
Well, I think that pretty much anything that falls under the umbrella of the occult, and that includes paranormal, and that includes people who maybe believe or do rituals, I think, or believe in the supernatural and things that exist beyond just us human beings. That there are other beings that maybe we might not be able to see, but my experiences with that started at a very young age, to be quite honest. I mean, I was thinking about this after after you dropped the bomb, and I'm like, all right, let me start preparing. Yeah, I think probably my earliest recollection of having anything to do with anything spooky or ghosts or anything like that, I think I was probably about 4 years old. So it's kind of fuzzy. And I believe I was still living up in Montana at that time. That's where I'm from. That's where I was born. I'm a gypsy. I've been everywhere. But this is when we're still up there. And I could remember it seemed like everybody else was gone or off doing something else in some other room. And I'm in the room by myself, and I'm seeing shadow people.
Right.
It didn't scare me. I wasn't freaked out about it. It was just I saw them, and I'm like, okay, there they are.
And then,
And I never brought it up to anybody. It just there it was.
so now, did you have any partners in crime, like cousins or stuff that you used to hang out with, and maybe?
No, not really. It's my upbringing's kind of a little strange. I like I say, I'm a gypsy. I was born like 50 miles from the Canadian border in a little town called Havre in Montana, and from there we moved around. My dad was a bassist in a country western band.
I
At
love
the
it.
time that he and my mom got together, my mom was a bartender at the place he had a gig at. So that was sort of inevitable
It was. Yeah.
for them to get together. But they did. But he was also a master electrician, and that's sort of how he made his bread. And we traveled around all over the place, him doing different electrical jobs, and all over Montana, and then eventually down here to Texas. So there was not a lot of cousins. I mean, there's myself, and I was raised with my mom's first two kids, my oldest, my sister, and my brother. I'm not going to give their names because they probably don't want me to
Exactly.
tell who they are. But I was raised with a brother and a sister pretty much my whole life. I found out about an older sister when I was about 9 or 10,
Well,
and I've
well,
gotten to meet her, and we're on good terms and stuff. But yeah, it's strange because, like I said, we've lived in Wyoming, we moved down here, and then we moved around to different places. But pretty much everywhere I've ever lived has been haunted. Getting back to the point.
well, that's what I was going to say. Let me ask you this: if you didn't have cousins and little friends that you were doing seances with, would you
No,
would you say that the same shadow people, as you call them, might have traveled with you guys, or different?
I don't think so. I honestly, I don't think so. Because I think that I would have been more familiar with them and said, "Oh yeah, no, they were with us when we moved to Texas," and
Right.
no, I think they lost us. I think maybe they got out with the dog, or because we had dogs and cats that we would move with us, and I think at one point we lost a dog, and I think maybe if they traveled with us, they went with that dog.
Yeah. And you and I talked about this about animals And we actually talked about animals and possibly, special, humans like mentally handicapped people having
Yes.
the ability to feel, I don't know, maybe like a sixth sense or something. What do you think about that?
Well, and I would agree, and I think it's more of the fact that they're because they tend to be more childlike in maybe their mindset and their outlook, that they tend not to put on the same kind of blinders we do as we grow up and talk ourselves out of believing stuff. I don't think that they have it in them to do that, but I don't know personally. I'm
Right.
not a psychologist. I'm not a
And,
psychiatrist.
maybe people will chime in the chat, but um, you mind if I
Yeah,
go ahead and
certainly if somebody
kick off
else has
a little ghost
seen that
story?
to be true, yeah, absolutely chime in.
All right, so here's my first little experience with ghosts. First off, I was raised by a very superstitious grandmother, and as I've told everybody in the streams before, my mom was 15 and my dad was 16 when I got together. So in the very beginning, we lived with my dad's parents, and that's the grandmother I'm speaking of is my dad's mom. She came from up in the mountains, deep mountains in North Carolina, and up there they call they I think they speak kind of funny, but instead of ghosts they call and maybe my accent's a little thick here, but they call them haints, like a twisted way to say haunt. They say haint. So you'll
Oh,
hear
sure, okay.
tell stories. They'll be like that house is haunted, or there's haints in that house, or something like that. And so I grew up with her talking about haunted houses and haunted hollers, so to speak.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
They would see, shadowy figures in the hollow, and so every night it seemed like when I was there, she would tell me these creepy stories about growing up there. And there's this little place in the mountains called Devil's Stairs, and supposedly if
Ooh.
you're there at midnight, standing on this bridge, you can hear a baby crying, and that's because this girl got pregnant young and threw her baby off the bridge because she couldn't take it home to her parents or something. They were ashamed of it, and so now that baby always cries at certain times. And again, I don't
That's
remember all the
perfectly
details.
horrifying.
It was, I was so tiny. And so wouldn't you know that the house they lived in when I was born and grew up in my first say 5 years of my life was haunted. And they were very open about it, and again, my grandpa always seemed to be like skeptical, and he went along with it just to keep the ladies calm in the house. I'm talking about my grandma and my aunt, you know.
Right,
Um,
sure.
so my aunt's in this room, and in this one bedroom in there that it really ended up being like a guest room slash storage room slash playroom slash my grandma would play the organ room to not aggravate my grandpa. Um, but it always seemed colder in that room. And the story was my aunt was in there as an adult. She was in there in the bed reading, and she glanced above the book and saw a tall man standing there looking at her. And she screamed, threw the book at him, and he ran into the closet. Well, everybody come running from when she screamed, and they searched through the closet, and there was nobody there. Well, fast forward a little bit, and her family, my grandmother's brother and his family, were down visiting from the mountains, and they were sleeping in that guest room. They heard something at the door, at the bedroom door, um, and they went to open it. I think it was maybe a knock or something. They opened the door, and there was nobody standing there. But they looked down, and the cat, the family pet, was there doing like figure eights. You know how cats will rub your legs they'll lean into you and rub on you. They were weaving in and out of these invisible legs, and they actually packed up and left and went home in the middle of the night because I mean those mountain people, all my relatives up there, they 100% believe in ghosts and stuff, and I don't want to say that maybe people who are cut off from civilization, those deep Appalachian roots, that they kind of, I don't know, make up their own stuff, but they all believed in it deeply.
You know what? There's cultures everywhere, and I think that everybody has, the spirit, the spirits they believe in and stuff. I think, I've done a lot of research on this, as a matter of fact, and so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, especially in the Appalachian area. You got to think that was the first West
Yeah,
that was settled by, Irish immigrants, and so yeah, they're going to take some of their own superstitions, plus just the amount of people that maybe died as a result of what they were doing there, their occupation, being miners or loggers, or doing whatever it was they were doing, which is really risky. So I would expect so that they're full of ghosts.
that's a great way to put it.
Ghosts in the hollers.
Ghosts in the
Totally.
hollers, yeah. Haints in the holler. So,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that, because me personally, and I'd like to get your take on this. I think, and this is funny, guys. I want you all to know that the Side Effect podcast we just recorded last night, and what we recorded was a paranormal / ghost podcast. So when that gets edited and put out, definitely check that out, guys.
I will totally tune into that.
Yeah, so you got all four of us on there talking ghosts and stuff, and
Heck yeah.
so my thing is, we talked about this last night. That's why I brought it up. Is I almost believe that there are different types of paranormal entities. I think that you have ghosts, and what I believe ghosts are spirits of people who maybe died kind of before they were supposed to die. So their soul, either they haven't finished their spiritual journey for their soul to know where to go, be it heaven or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I know it's hard to explain, but it's kind of a lost soul. And then I also think, like, let's say you do lose somebody early, and you get a Ouija board and you try to contact them. That opens the door to allow stuff like demons and stuff like that to come in, which are, they might be imposters of spirits until they get in and they can do their wicked things. What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. I am of the opinion, because we talked about, we were of an age that I believe that Ouija boards are much in the same way as like the modems were way back when the internet first started, and you could connect to anything.
What a great
If there
analogy.
was anything out there to connect to, you could connect to it, but there were no safety nets, there were no firewalls, there were no precautions, there were no antivirus type of software out there. So you were really taking your chances. And the Ouija board, I feel like in equal measure, is the same way. Anything could possibly, it's basically, it's a spirit board. There's a reason they call it a spirit board, is because you are wanting to contact spirits. But anything can, that has the ability to manifest in some way, to communicate through that board, anything can come through, and it doesn't have to be truthful with you.
That's right. That's why I called them kind of imposters. And so I'll tell you right now, again, a lot of it comes back to my weird childhood as far as being raised by teenagers. They took me to see The Exorcist when I was really young. I mean, like 3 years old.
Oh,
And I think what they tried to do, was keep me in the back seat, occupied, not watching it. But, you can't expect me not to watch, peek up over the
right.
back seat looking. And I promise you, that ruined my life. That movie, I've said before, had me afraid of Ouija boards, of course, but I didn't encounter them early in life. It was, I was afraid that maybe I was going to be possessed or somebody I was with would be possessed. So I was always really scared that something would move and my bed would shake or something. And I'll tell you, that has haunted me my whole life. Right now,
Sorry, you guys. I have a cat on my lap.
oh, I think that's awesome.
My friend's cat is up on my lap,
Hey,
wanting pets. So you get his tail in here too.
that's awesome. But no,
Sorry.
I was just going to say that I'll be 45 next month. When I have a nightmare, and it really affects me. It's not some kind of slasher or anything like that. It's a door shutting by itself, or something. To say a doll moving, that seems to be a common theme in my most recent nightmares. Um, I just, I don't know, that kind of stuff right there is what's freaked me out, and I think it all goes back to Reagan in The Exorcist messing and talking to Mister Howdy or Captain Howdy or whatever his name was, and that
Oh,
that spirit, and getting possessed. And I don't know, did you see The Exorcist or any particular movie that might have got to you at a young age, or do you think maybe you might have just been born with some sensitivities?
well, for one, I definitely believe I was born with some sensitivities. But two, like The Exorcist really, I mean, it was freaky just because it was gross and stuff like that. The makeup and the special effects and stuff were really creepy. I didn't grow up in a particularly, I think, religious household. I mean, any sort of religious stuff I did on my own, and that was Sundays going to church. And I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't have approved of my, what I was watching, but I didn't tell them. So,
Right.
no, Exorcist, it was creepy, it was weird. I found it kind of gross, and yeah, it was kind of a little bit scary, but in an esoteric, not very real sort of way. For me, Poltergeist, like the
Mm,
TV shutting off and on, and like, doors opening and closing, and
yes.
that kind of stuff, pictures flying off the wall, and really, like, what you would think is like just unexplainable physical phenomenon. To me, that was more terrifying than it perhaps being something, infernal.
Yes, like you're saying, as opposed to like the devil possessing you or possessing anybody.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
just these mischievous, angry ghosts or demons or whatever. um,
right. Yeah, I kind of
yeah.
have my own categories, but we'll
Well,
go
yeah.
through.
Feel free. No, yeah. I'd like to hear what those are. Yeah, because like I said, I kind of lump mine as this. Like I said, ghosts, and I told you what I think they are, and then I think you
Mm-hmm.
basically have demons and angels. So that's basically it. So shoot, please do.
Yeah. Well, ghosts, I believe very much the same way, is that they are spirits for whatever reason have not gone on to their final reward, whatever that is, whether you believe in heaven, Valhalla, nothing, whatever. For whatever reason, a part of this person's energy, I feel like, is stuck back, whether they choose or whether circumstances that perhaps led to their death kept them.
Okay.
And to me, I split those off, and they're more kind of like a spirit entity. I call those like ex ghosts, because usually those guys have like an axe to grind. Like, they
Yes.
don't want to go on because they still want to continue to do whatever kind of nefarious bullshit they were taken on into in life, and now they want to visit that on the living. But I don't necessarily, they're not in the same class as ghosts, which is why I call them ex ghosts. They sort of cross over into a realm that's more like a summoned type entity, like a demon or something like that, or a devil. To where, it's their negativity, and whatever negativity is around them and whatever negativity they can stir up feeds them.
Okay. Playing on that idea, what do you think? Excuse me. What do you think about something being happening and being so horrific and so traumatic that there's almost like this energy imprint on
Yeah.
on a place, to where it's almost like a continuous loop, where you see this lady walking downstairs or you see a girl doing something. You buy into that?
Well, yes, absolutely. If something is that bad and this person is sort of caught in it, and we see it, you see it in the media all the time. You've got all these reality shows where these guys are going into these different places and they're getting EVPs, which is the electronic voice phenomenon, where they're getting disembodied voices that maybe they couldn't hear at the time, but because they had this little widget, a voice recorder, they could come back and they're asking it questions, and sometimes these things respond back that way and give you clues as to why they're there. But you don't, Yes, I believe that if it's something truly horrific, it's something very traumatic, that it is kind of caught in a loop like a piece of film, but it's a really short film, like a GIF almost, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, good way to
But
put it.
yeah, something like that where it's caught, and you might be fortunate enough to either one, be sensitive, or two, it's just strong enough that you're going to experience that.
So okay, yeah. So say
But it's not going to do anything to you. It's literally just like being witness to an event.
yeah, so we could be in a house, the same house, you and I, um, and both see it.
Yeah.
Or if it was weak, maybe because you're sensitive, you might see it, and then I would be like, "Honey, let's say we were together, you know what I mean? Honey, you're crazy. You know, I don't see anything. You know what I'm saying? That because
Right.
these cause husbands and wives to argue. My friends that I told the story on my stream, you know, the dad would argue a lot with them about because he's not hearing anything, he's
He
not
didn't
seeing
see it.
anything.
Yeah, it's not interacting with him. He's not seeing it. It's not having anything to do with him. Well, I actually kind of have a story of my own about that. The first house my husband and I bought, um, the person who had lived in it before, our next door neighbor were renting it, was, I can't remember which one, the man or the wife, whose mother it was, but she was battling cancer, and the woman had lost her battle with cancer in the house, passed away. We didn't find this out until later. Come on, cat. We didn't find this out until later, but she wouldn't interact with me. She would only interact with the males in the house. And like my son, who he didn't sleep very much as a small child, even still, it takes forever for him to go to sleep at 16 years old.
Marty,
But
you're
as a small child,
bad.
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I know it's kind of out of our control. I just wanted to let you know
Oh,
before you.
sorry. Where did I break off at?
I basically what I gathered is that y'all got this house, and in this house, maybe somebody died of cancer prior to y'all getting it.
Yes, and they would interact like she would interact with my husband. She'd come out by name. I never heard a thing. She wouldn't interact with me. At the time, we had somebody staying with us. He was sort of in between places and needed a place to crash, so he was sleeping on our couch. She'd call him out by name. And he would ask me if I called him, and I was in the other room and I didn't hear a thing. He's like, "Yeah, what?" I'm like, "What? Nothing." Because he said distinctly, and they all said that it was distinctly a woman's voice, and I'm like, "I ain't talking to y'all. I
Wow.
don't know what you're talking about. I don't hear nothing." And my son, like I said, was an infant, less than a year old, and he's in his crib, and I would hear just like laughter, child's laughter, and I know it's my own child, but it was, I'm sorry, it was such a rare thing to hear him laugh as an infant that it was really spooky.
That
So I'd
creeps
go in
me
there,
out.
and he would just be laughing and having the best time in his crib, and I'm like,
What's entertaining him?
and I finally did have to, I sort of confronted her, just my own voice in the room, telling her, "Look, you have babies next door."
Uh-oh.
Cut you the
I think we're losing
the
you.
anyway, it cut out. I totally go and play through grandbabies next door, and I never heard another thing.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen anybody say anything in the chat, but I just lost you completely there at the end. Um,
Well, I told the old lady to go home, basically, or go next door where her grandbabies were, and stop playing with mine in the middle of the night.
did it work?
I never heard another thing. Nobody had heard another thing.
That's awesome, man. I've heard of my aunt. My aunt said she confronted
Yeah,
an old man ghost before. So, my fingers are crossed. I mean, I hope that your connection stays strong because I've got so much to talk to you about.
me
Um,
too.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
actually right.
yeah. I'm so
Before,
sorry.
your voice was sounding robotic, but then right there at the end of that story, you just went gray completely. Your screen did, and it could be something
Cool.
paranormal messing with us. They don't want us to get all this info out. So anyway,
Yeah.
you were saying um I don't know that in movies and shit that when a baby's in their room by themselves and something's going on with them, that's the part that freaks me out the most. You know, it took me years. I think there were probably 4 paranormal activities out before I watched the first one. I had to build up the courage to watch it.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of them because I'm like, again, it was like the Sixth Sense. It's like, I've heard of, I've witnessed goofy stuff. Why? That's like watching a weird documentary that kind of isn't.
damn it. It's like you're great, and then as soon as you start talking, I don't know. I guess it might just be me.
Damn it.
I mean, if they're hearing it, that's great. But for me, it's like, yeah, really robotic. But I kind of got
I'm
what you're saying. I'm
sorry.
trying to
Yeah.
like pick up context clues and put it all together. Basically, you're saying no reason to watch it. It's like a documentary of BS or something. I don't know. But
Well, for me,
basically
just
the idea
goofy
was
stuff that I know happens.
okay. You're gray.
What is going on? Somebody's all right, cat. The cat's messing with me. Come on. I know. Am I all right?
Oh, they're saying yeah. They're saying it is your connection that maybe you could break and
Okay.
reconnect. I don't know. I'm not used to Hangouts. Is that safe,
Me
guys?
either. This is
Like
the
you,
first.
yeah, for me too, man. Like hosting something like that. Okay, so anyway, well, let's just see. Let's just kind of limp along here and see what happens. All right. So basically, in that movie, they just put in cameras to watch because weird things have been happening. So basically, what you get to see is these creepy stuff moving and stuff. While the family is sleeping and away and stuff like that. So, um, but anyway, I want to let you
Right.
get
It's
back
meant
to
to look like a reality thing where they've just put cameras up to capture this
yeah,
evidence
yeah.
of
They're
evidence of
not
paranormal activity.
they're not selling it as true events, right? Yeah, I think everybody goes in there knowing that it's a fictional movie, but it's still really creepy. I want you to
Yeah.
back to your you still had your different categories. You only got to do one, and I jumped in on you, so that's
Well, yeah, we pretty much went over those as far as entities, but they're spirits, and I'll say the spirits, and I don't think they represent particularly a belief in any particular faith system or anything else, but they're beings that their existence is accepted by a couple of different cultures, and one of those, and it's in Norse cultures, is called the house whites, and it's
they're
like you
not.
think of
I'm
like your
sorry.
car
I'm
key
sorry,
gnomes
Marty.
and that
Can you hear
kind
me?
of stuff.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I could tell you just went wow and went goof.
Yeah, they're saying they're not seeing your video or your voice. So,
Oh,
dang.
dang it.
Yeah, I know it. And I mean, it's like I don't know. Uh, I really wish I knew. Yeah,
I'm
everybody's saying
trying to move around and maybe get better reception somewhere else. We were doing good for a while there, and then
I
it just all
know.
went to shit.
Mike Bushnell said, "Is that Stephen Hawking talking?"
Fuck
That
off,
is what it
Mike. No, I'm
sounded like.
kidding.
That is what it sounded like. That's funny. Um, See, like when we're not talking, I see your picture clear. If you talked as slowly as I do, that even if it glitched, they could put it together.
Maybe I should slow my ass down.
No, I'm just, I'm,
I'm just trying to get it out there, I guess. It's something that
no,
excites me. It's something that
no, it's a joke.
we
It
both
was,
had experience with.
yeah. Damn it. I I'm gonna have my YouTube card revoked. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Okay, Steph Snow
Oh my
says she
goodness.
thinks
No,
you
come
could
on.
make
Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave?
no, they're still hanging with us, and I told them in the beginning, just if it gets sketchy, hang out. We'll get it fixed. So I'm willing to do.
Try.
They're
How long we
saying,
been on? I don't even have a timer or anything.
yeah, yeah, me either. 38 minutes, 35 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's not
So
bad.
they're saying they're still hanging out. So maybe if you want to, I want to say they're saying it, but
You
it's
guys are
basically
troopers.
Steph Snow is the one. She keeps saying that you can disconnect and reconnect, and I believe her. Because she's
Want
not
me to
guessing.
do that?
She's not putting question marks in here. So do it. Try that
Okay.
if you
All
can.
right.
Okay, I'm waiting on you.
All right. I'll be right back.
Fingers crossed. Hang in there, guys. I appreciate you, man. This was flowing really good for a second there. Come on. Come on.
Hello, hello.
Rock and roll.
Hello, hello.
You are back. Let's hope it's a good connection.
Am I
Awesome.
back? Am I loud and clear?
You sound great, like you did in the beginning. So let's just try to do this again. Everybody said they're with us, and
Okay.
Yoli Stark, I'm doing
Thanks,
great.
guys.
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, and thank you guys for hanging out. Okay, so now try to start that little bit over again. Where you were at.
Okay, so the other kind of spirit that we didn't really talk about was the house whites. Is it doing it again? Because
No,
I
I
was
just
trying to
thought you
slow
were
it
really
down.
trying. Yeah, you were. You were. That was funny. That was funny. I'm sorry. Go right ahead. I knew what you were trying to do.
All
It
right.
sounded. All right, go
All
right. Try
right.
it again. Try it again.
So yeah, no, this is it's funny now, but like house whites and cartoon gnomes and fairies and stuff like that. They're even the Irish believe in them, the Norse believe in them, the Icelanders believe in them. I mean, the dwarves, they believe in those. Like those are actual beings. We don't get to see them all the time, but like leprechauns, they believe in those. Believe
Absolutely.
that those spirits exist. We don't get to see them all the time because they're on the other side of something that we can't perceive. So when they come tripping over here, every once in a while somebody will see something, and it
Okay.
keeps it alive.
All right. All right. We're getting ready to see how much of a trooper you are. Sorry. Everybody's saying your voice is still weirding out. I actually got. I know it's frustrating. Welcome to my world. All right.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying, have you cut video? Just do it podcast style. Do you know how to do that? I don't. Like where you maybe you don't have a video, but your picture pops up when you're talking because you got some good info. Everybody wants
Okay,
to
let me
hear
see
it,
if
but
I can do
you
that.
literally sound like a robot, and it's hard, not like an understandable robot.
No. Hmm.
Do you know how? Do you? I don't. I don't. I wish I knew how to direct you. Um,
Well, I'm tapping. Okay, here we go.
you
No video. How
boom.
about this? I'm no video now.
Yeah, and you're crystal clear, and I mean crystal
Awesome.
clear. All right, all right. Give it to me. Okay, we heard about the leprechauns, but I'd like for you to start over. Do it again, please.
Yeah, so there are house whites. Like I believe in house whites. In fact, when we moved into our new house, one of the things I did to kind of make right with the spirits that might exist for the house or protect the people in the house, or to call those, I took apples and I cut them in half where you would see the seeds look like stars, and I put them around the house for them. And there are other places that do that too. I'm not
No, I
the only
never
weird
heard
one.
of that. No, that's cool as heck. So prior to like actually making it your residence, as soon as you move in, you just do that as like
Well,
a
that wasn't the only thing I did. I also went
offering.
in with like a sage stick and smudged in any like sort of residual energies of the people who had lived there before, whether they were still alive and living somewhere else or if they had since passed on. I do that in apartments too because it's just you get negative residual energy, especially in a transient place like an apartment complex where people are coming and going all the time.
That hey, that makes great sense to me, man. I really think that's a good idea. Just to make sure, because and that's I'm glad you said that because that's one thing that Chris says a lot is, you know, why do people stay? And a lot of times it's because they're locked up in a mortgage they probably can't get out of. And if you advertise the fact that you're leaving because the house is haunted, it'd be hard to sell.
Yeah.
So why not
And
take
you
like
typically don't have to
proactive
disclose that
plan?
sort of thing.
Right. But hey, me, shit. I'd tell everybody. I'd run to everybody's house and tell them my house was haunted because I couldn't stay there. I'm just a chicken shit. I am. I'm a big
That
scary.
happened to my godparents, actually.
Really. Basically, we're paying
And it
for a
had to
house
do
we're
with a
never
Ouija
scared to
board.
live in.
No, they were in a house, and initially it wasn't haunted, but apparently they got a hold of a Ouija board, and they and my mom, I'm hearing this, from them
Right.
after everything, but this is events leading up. They decided that they were going to play with Ouija board in there and to see if there was anybody in the house and if they were still hanging out and what the deal was, and something up, and they figured out I'm trying to fast forward and make this pretty quick, but they fast forward. They did some checking. They figured out that a woman had. She was kind of I don't know, kind of nasty old bitch to begin with. I hate to be mean, but apparently she wasn't the nicest person. She was a nice lady. But had passed away from a heart attack, I guess, in the house or whatever, and just apparently, didn't have a whole lot of close family, that kind of thing, and what had happened is I guess it woke that spirit up, and I didn't realize they had done that. I'd gone into the house, I guess maybe a week later. They were holding a yard sale, and I was, told them I would make dinner and stuff, and I'd help out. So I was in there making spaghetti, whatever, and it was on to simmer. I didn't have to stand right next to it, so I decided I was going to peek around and poke through the house because I'd not been there. They just moved in. And so I wandered around to the different rooms, and when I was on the first floor, it was fine. It was when I started walking up the stairs to where the bedrooms were, it just started getting a lot colder, and I started feeling like I was being watched, and whatever was watching me wasn't happy about me being there or happy about anybody being there. I never, ever saw anything. I just got this sense, like sixth sense. I just got this sense that there was something up here, didn't like the fact that there was anybody here, and didn't like the fact that I was poking around trying to figure out what it was. And I didn't really think that that's what I was doing.
Right. But
They since started having all kinds of problems in the house. Like they'd go to bed at night, and my godfather would swear up and down it had something to do with women, and would just get so mad at his wife, and they would have just awful fights. And then, she'd be reading in another bedroom and have a chair perched in the corner where nothing's behind you. And she'd be reading a book, and something would come along and tap her on the shoulder. And of course you look around, and of course there's nothing there.
Dude.
And they ended up leaving the house and getting another house.
Yeah.
They had a shaman come in, they had a priest come in, they had a reverend come in. I think they even might have had some kind of a pagan occult person come in and bless the house and do whatever, and nothing seemed to work, so they left. I don't know if they ever sold that house.
Wow. I'll tell you, man, I know the feeling you're talking about. My aunt and uncle, they my uncle was able to get a house for free as long as he moved it from the location it was on and brought it, so he paid like 10 grand to have this thing, the foundation tore up and jacked up and hauled to his house, right? And when he did, he basically took the new house and combined it with his old house, right? And
I'm listening, sorry.
It looked like a split level house. It looked really good. But it was actually two houses. And I'm telling you right now, when I would go into that new house, I could feel it was a difference. There was a feeling there, and that's where they put their laundry room. Or if you came in from the pool, you would have to walk all the way through that new house to get to their old house, and it was just creepy. I would run. I mean, you would just feel it, like, and that's the place where I told you my aunt confronted the ghost and basically told it to leave, and in a nice way, respectful way. But it was an old man, and he hung out in the bathroom in that house. So I know the feeling. I was
That's
so
kind of
uncomfortable,
creepy.
you know. So they brought like that ghost was attached to that house, wherever it came from, and when they brought it and connected to their house, it never did anything in the old house that they had. It stayed in that house, that side, and that was a trip. They don't live there anymore either, but that ghost would leave lights on for my grandma when she moved in with them for a little while. And
Oh, wow.
she would say, "Thanks
Well,
for leaving
that's
light on."
helpful,
Yeah,
but hanging out in the bathroom is not so awesome.
yeah, I know, I know. And they would hear him crying. It wasn't like a moaning or scary thing. It was like
Oh.
literally an old man sobbing, and so it was kind of sad. Because he never did anything bad to anybody, but it was the feeling you got. You just knew. I don't know. I could just feel his presence, and it freaked me out. So I would always run through there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if anybody was there with like an old man mask and jumped out, I would have probably had a heart attack at 15. I'm really scared of shit like that.
Right.
But since we talked about there was going to be some ghost stories on here, I do have another one that I didn't tell the other night that happened to me personally, and this one's kind of creepy, but I will say that I don't. When I tell ghost stories, when I try to tell somebody and convince somebody that I've had an experience, I always use the one I told on the last stream about the ghost stomping down the stairs for one reason and one reason only. Because that one, it affected only me. The other one affected me and some friends. So you would think that would be the one I would tell. But the truth is, on this one I'm getting ready to tell, I just woke up. So if the skeptic in me says there's a chance that you were still sleeping or in a daze from just waking up. So
Sure.
here's
Right.
how this one goes. Uh, was 18 and living in a trailer park in a single wide trailer with about three or four of my buddies, and they were in a band, and they were at band practice. Well, I came home from work and they were all gone, and I remember I put a tape in the VCR, and it was Jean Claude Van Damme, Lionheart, and I mean I'm telling you that to tell you that I remember everything really well, and that's a cheesy movie to bring up. I wish it was a better one to say, but that's the truth. And I'm laying there on the couch, and I fall asleep. I wake up, and I see the screen is blue on the TV. The tape had ended and rewound itself, and the TV screen was just blue. So I immediately looked to the foot of the couch, and there was a little boy standing there looking at me and smiling. And
Oh.
I tell everybody he looked like DJ on Roseanne. He had dark hair with straight bangs, and he had on a red collared shirt and red and gray stripes, horizontal stripes on it. And he was smiling at me, right? And like I scoot back on the couch, my feet and everything, and he turns around and walks down the hall in the trailer back towards my bedroom. And I immediately jump up. I turn the lights on. I actually turned the television on where it had sound and a picture, turned the stereo on, and I picked up the phone. I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I just saw a ghost. It was a little boy. He was standing at the foot of the couch. You know, her immediate response was, James, you've been doing drugs again. And I was like, no, I'm sober. Because I had dabbled in some psychedelics when I was young. And she knew about it. So that's why she said that. And then she said, well, what do you want me to do about it? Come down there and whoop a little boy ghost's ass for you?
Oh my god, when you first said that, I just fell out, dude.
So, dude, I was like, thanks a lot. You're a lot of help, Mom. And I hung up. Well, waited there scared to death. My buddies come home, get the shotgun. We go down the hall looking for this little boy ghost. And we go in my bedroom. And I had a brand new waterbed at the time that was still in the box. I hadn't even put it up yet. Needless to say, I never put it up in that house. And we looked in the closet, nothing there. So now we got this little boy story, right? And so every time we would be throwing a party or having people over, somebody would bring up, "Hey, James, tell them the story about the little boy," right? And I would tell them, and there would be people there who would challenge him, like, I ain't scared of no little kid, screw you, little boy, and blah blah blah. And doors would open, noises, things would bang in the kitchen and stuff, right?
You're
So
like, oh yeah, you're gonna make fun of me, huh? Watch this.
yeah, and I promise you this happened with all my heart. Now, so what I'm saying is, I may have not seen the little boy. I might not have because I did just wake up. But what I'm saying is that everybody saw the doors open and heard the noises and stuff. So we moved from there. And my thoughts at the time were this because I do believe in spirits kind of getting stuck due to weird spirits getting stuck due to weird circumstances, traumatic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking maybe this little boy was killed by somebody and they buried him under this trailer or something, because it's not an old house, it was like a 20-year-old mobile home. And so you wonder, how did that energy get stuck there? Well, anyway, we moved to another house in another town, and we just happened to be there with, the lights out, hanging out, talking. And again, somebody says, tell the story, the little boy story. And I'm telling it. And I promise you, a beer can with no beer in it, the stereo was not on, no fan on or anything, fell off this tall speaker and landed on the floor upright, like right in the middle, right at the punchline part of the story of the little boy. And I mean, everybody freaked out. So again, things happen. I know weird shit happens all the time, but it was always when we were talking about him. But it never moved past that second house. Like, we were in other houses and we're roommates and stuff, and it would be talked about. Nothing else ever weird happened, but those happened for real. What do you think about that?
That's amazing, and I think it's fantastic. What compelling evidence for a lot of people who didn't believe anything, and then they're all like, "Oh man, how'd you try to do that?" But no, man, that's awesome.
I mean,
That is fantastic.
I remember it just like yesterday. I swear it was that real to me. Um, so I wish, yeah, if I wish I knew somebody like you who could have come through and done some happy stuff, because we loved that trailer. We loved living there. Got along great with the landlord and stuff. I wish I could have put my water bed up in there. I was just too scared. Me and my buddy slept on a mattress in the living room, and dude, we'd wake each other up for work in the morning, and man, sometimes it'd be scary. I mean, we were always on the edge of being scared of that, because that door, the closet, is like a coat closet right at the front door. It would only open and swing open, when we were talking about the little boy. It was really crazy. It's not like it happened all the
Oh, well,
time,
he
so I
knows
could
what's
say,
going to
"Oh,
get
it
you.
just opened again." So I don't know, but what do you think about what I said about how would a little boy ghost? I mean, I think, to me, it's a couple things. It could be like we talked about, a demon or whatever,
Well, and it could be
pretending to
just a
be a
little
little
boy
boy.
that he might have, passed away from, I don't know, like a fever or something when he was real young, and he could be connected to the land, not so much the trailer that's there,
Sure,
the location itself, but just
he
the
could have got hit by
land.
a car, or out in the road.
Right. And you're just seeing this residual energy. And maybe he wants to hang out. Maybe he didn't want to go to the light or go whatever. Maybe he made, whatever his spirit, that energy that makes him him, decided he wanted to hang out and have fun. That maybe this was something more fun to do. Because if he's not hurting anybody,
Yeah, he was the happy little boy, cute little boy. I mean, he was smiling, and he didn't. He had little blue jeans. I mean, I didn't see his feet. I just saw him turn
yeah.
around and walk down and kind of just fade into the darkness back there. And yeah, legal Jedi's busting my balls about a waterbed.
I had one too.
there were, yeah, there were two waterbeds in that trailer. Just, I don't know. It's 91. Um, I'd like to have one now. I'll tell you the reason, and I might not if I got it. But one thing I liked about having one is the heater in there. So in the winter, you could turn the heat on, and it would be so cozy in there. And then in the summertime, the water would cool down, and it was always cool when you got in. But anyway,
See, yeah, I couldn't have one without a heater because otherwise the water would be so cold it would just suck all the heat out of me.
yeah,
Women are always cold anyway, it seems like, for the most part.
yeah, I'm telling you, I'm too hot always. So I loved it. But I did definitely love it when you could crank the heat up in the wintertime. It would get so cozy. But
Yes.
I don't even think you can buy a waterbed anymore.
You can, but I think you got to go to like real specialty places because I don't know, there're just so many that's like, no, you can't have one if you have kids. You really shouldn't have one if you have cats, blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Well, let me
I think maybe the big thing now is just Interfell mattresses. I don't know how we got onto beds, but I guess you're being afraid to put your bed together because of the ghosts.
yeah, yeah. And you've watched enough of my streams to know we get on some tangents here easy. Um,
Yeah.
so okay, I got something I want to throw at you. This is kind of goes to your specialty, your tarot card, and your sensibility and stuff like that. Talk to me, or where do you think something like hypnotism falls into this? Do they touch at all? Do they?
Well, I think it definitely falls under what the heading of occult. Although hypnotism now, since there's been so many scientists, even though these are scientists, psychological scientists, psychologists, and psychiatrists and stuff, and I know that there are many that have included that into their practice. But when it first started out, I'm sure it was pretty scary witchcraft.
That's
I
what
know
I
that there's a certain percentage of the population, I believe, that can be hypnotized, and can but I think that the biggest myth behind hypnotism is that they'll make you quack like a duck or whatever, and that's not the case. You wouldn't do something under hypnotism that you wouldn't do anyway.
I got something for you from the chat. Steph Snow says nighttime paralysis, which I've also heard called sleep paralysis. I've experienced that a couple times. Have you heard anything or ever experienced that?
I have, but not where I felt like I was like being held by something, or I've not had that. But I've had where it's like I've been lucid but felt like I couldn't move. Yeah, I've had sleep
That's exactly the
paralysis.
way. That's exactly the way mine is. Mine's been twice sleep paralysis, where I just felt like I couldn't move. And I've watched documentaries on it, and these people are seeing stuff in the room with them when they're going through this. But I never felt that way. I just couldn't move, and I struggled so hard, and I would try to scream and everything. Um, for the person in the room with me, not just scream out loud. I was just trying to move and trying to get somebody to help me. It was really scary. Now,
Yeah, I think you're still kind of partially in the grips of a sleep state,
I think so.
which can be
It's like,
much like a meditative or even a hypnotic state. You're not quite awake, but you're awake enough that you're awake in your body.
mm-hmm. Well, Steph Snow, I recommend when the side effect podcast comes out, listen to that and listen to Val's sleep paralysis experience. It is it's creepy, and I'm not going to spoil it for her. I'll let her tell that. Um, so okay, here's something for you. Gray area, gray area is saying lucid dreaming. Anyone have that? She said she has it almost every night, and it freaks her out. What do you think about that?
Personally, I think lucid dreaming is fantastic. I wish I could lucid dream. That was one of those things that seems to escape me. Um, Typically, when I dream, I feel like I'm kind of there. I'm kind of like a sideline participant. I'm along for the ride, but I can't control anything. My understanding of lucid dreaming is that you can control different aspects of your dream.
Yeah,
And
that's
I think that
my
would be a really
understanding.
cool ability to have.
It would be because I'm
Because you could take something that freaked you out and was scary and turn it into something harmless that made you laugh.
right, right.
But I don't know if it works that way. Gray area would have to fill you in
Turn,
on that one.
turning a bad trip into a good trip.
Right?
so so yeah, man. I'm exactly like you as far as dreaming. Now I have very I can remember my dreams really well. They're very vivid dreams. But I'm just a participant. I can't. I mean, just a you know it comes and it gives me what I'm going to get, and I can't control any part of it. I wish. Um, so yeah, let's see what else some other people are saying here for you. Um, Somebody's asking if that's a grandfather clock. Okay, here you go. Travis Eisenhart is saying, "Can we talk about astral projection?" He's able to do it, and it's awesome. Okay, what
I've
is that?
heard that
Out
it
of
is
body
awesome.
experience? Is that what that is? Out of body experience?
Yeah, I want to say so. It's a willful trip out of your body that your spirit takes along maybe a cord or, like a filament or something like that, where you can if you know where you're going, you can pretty much go wherever you want. It's just the problem, I think, that that keeps a lot of people from trying it is that if, you better make sure you know how to get back.
Oh, that's
It,
the like.
it's like it's I would say it's like an inner journey, but astral projection is literally it's not so much that your spirit's leaving your body. Part of your spirit is going on a little vacation outside of your body. If I know it, if how I understand it is correct.
Oh, Lord Gray Area just followed up and said, "Yeah, I just have back to back false awakenings. That would freak me out. Yeah. So you think you wake up, you're still dreaming, and then think you wake up and you're still dreaming, and you maybe wake up for real. See,
I've
that
done
stuff
that
you see
dream in a
on
dream in a
movies.
dream thing.
Oh no, never. That's just pretty crazy. Um,
It's only happened to me like once or twice, but yeah, that's memorable.
um, Angie D says many moons ago I tried to astral project, never been able to. Slope says true story. I once woke up in Las Vegas in a completely dark room and couldn't move, so I started yelling. Turns out I was strapped down in a hospital bed because I was wasted and causing problems. Oh my god. That's
And
funny.
there's that, have you been taking drugs? Are you
Yes, that's
sure what you saw was like just not a hallucination? You know, and I'd ask people if like, okay, if your place is haunted, I was going to bring this up before. It's like, okay,
yeah.
do you have exposed electrical junction boxes and conduit? You know, is it in front of the walls or is it in the walls? Because a lot of the time that can mess with like electromagnetic fields within the room and make you feel all kind of weird and goofy things, like maybe you're being watched and that sort of thing. Another thing is because I live in an older house that's plumbed for gas, and I know other people sometimes live in houses like that where it's plumbed for gas heat. If you don't have, it's kind of like the Oracle of Delphi. If you know anything about that, it's like you huff and gas, you're going to see shit.
Right.
Or you might get nauseous or, you know, have headaches or, you know, feel maybe depressed or, you know, have an oppressive feeling because, well, you're huffing gas. You just don't realize it because it's not so much where it can cause real problems, but enough that it can affect you.
Yes,
And a lot
and
of times stuff like that gets blamed on ghosts or spirits or entities.
yeah, I believe wholeheartedly that, and this was kind of touched on in the podcast, that I believe that there's things about our brain that we shouldn't mess with, unless it's very intentional and for study, or maybe something spiritual or whatever, but not recreationally. It's nothing to play with here.
Yes, I would
So
absolutely say the same thing.
because I believe, like, here's my thing. There's one thing that I always go back to that keeps me open to any kind of, say, ghosts, time travel, other dimensions, things like that, and that is deja vu. That's always been what keeps me open minded, because every time it happens to me, it's so heavy and so real. You know what I mean? And I think I said that in my last stream, but that's the truth. I mean, there's something in our brain, about our brain, that the top scientists can't touch yet, and we're not there
Yeah,
yet.
how do we know that? How do we know that? How did we know that that was going to happen? And now why do we feel the way we feel because we knew it was going to happen and can't explain it?
And I think that they can maybe give an explanation, but it's probably no better than a guess, I would say.
Sure.
Um, you
Well,
know,
so much of what we've been talking about is what they call like a pseudoscience or a soft science because, you know, I mean, there are people that are trying to apply like scientific method to stuff, but, you know, in all honesty, it's just really given up to one, whether or not you can perceive the phenomenon, and two, whether or not you're bothered enough by it to do anything about it.
um, let's see here. It looks like, let's see. Okay, Angie D says, I dreamt that I talked with my grandpa after he passed. Same room he died in and everything, but I don't think that was a projection, just was on my mind. Well, me and my cousin at the same time saw my great grandfather after he died, shortly after he died, and nobody else saw him and nobody else believed us. But yeah, so I don't know that, Angie D. I don't, it could have just been a coincidental dream. It could have been, but he died unexpectedly. He died of a massive heart attack and was dead before any ambulance ever got there. He was at a service station up the road and was sitting there on the bench hanging out with the guys and just fell over laughing and didn't get back up. So I feel like when somebody's taken from you like that, you get a you might get these visions as gifts, so to speak, and I'll leave it at that.
I'm going to agree with that 100%. I think that you do. And I think that Angie D, dreaming of a loved one that you knew that has since passed, I think that that's their way of making contact with you, because when you're in a sleep dream state, it's not the same as your conscious awake. So you don't have the same sort of barriers that you put up when you're awake. I think it
That's
makes it
right.
easier for them to contact you.
Which, which again, that's something that was kind of brought up last night. Is why do most of these things happen at night? You know, ghost sightings and things like that. And I think there's something to that. Um, sleep state, open mindedness, or I don't know, letting the blinders down, as you said, blinders earlier. Um, I don't know. I think it's. Let's see. Travis Eisenhart says, and by the way, James, I will admit that my first few times astral projecting was drugs involved, but after the first few, it started happening sober, and I can now control it. And that is something I'm going to do some research on, um, Travis, for sure. Because all I've ever thought, just seeing that, um, you know, I would immediately go to um, the people who have had near death experiences, and they talk about it's like they're levitating above their bed and they see the table that they're on and the doctor standing around it and nurses. That's the first thing I thought. I never thought about people actually doing it and taking journeys and stuff and then coming back. Um, but I am glad it did remind me of the near death experiences. Do you have any thoughts, Martingus? Do you have any thoughts on near death experiences and why people see the bright lights? Um, what that may mean or represent, or because it's like alien abduction. It's like most of them see grays. They see the big headed gray thing with the big black eyes, and then you have near death experiences, and most of them talk about seeing a light and feeling drawn to that light, but then coming back or something. I don't know. I'll let you talk on that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's credence in that. Because I know it's you hear that a lot. Go to the light, go to the light, or you hear people, and I've not known anybody personally to have a near death experience to experience such like that. They talk about like your life flashing before your eyes, that kind of thing. Not so much seeing a light, but just sort of seeing, taking
Well,
an accounting of everything. But I've never had that experience, but I'm not going to take it away from anybody.
no,
I
no,
think it's
yeah,
absolutely valid if you're having it.
I kind of categorize those two things separately. I think the ones I'm talking about is say if somebody's in a they're unconscious and they're either on an operating table or they've been in a wreck and they're knocked out or whatever. Anyway, they're flatlining or close to flatlining. And then there are people who
Right, no.
the whole life flashed before your eyes thing. Um, Actually, and he didn't talk about it on the podcast last night, but Chris was in a wreck a few years ago, and he attests to that. And he's a big skeptic on a lot of things, but he said it sure did. It felt like his whole life flashed before his eyes because during that wreck. But and
Yeah.
again, that's just the
Yeah,
way
no, as
I
far as
think.
like, people seeing the light and coming back and saying that they saw the light, I've never known anybody personally
Me either.
that I can think of right offhand that I would be able to say categorically, yes, that's what they saw. And yeah, they wanted to, and they might have even seen like a loved one that they knew that was like right there. But, and they said, well, and a lot of them say that, well, yeah, you have them they tell you to go back. It's not your time yet.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Living My Rhapsody's saying. What about floaters in photos? Now, I don't know if she's talking
Orbs?
about orbs. Yeah, I don't know if she's
She's
talking about
talking
that.
about orbs.
I've had some orbs in some of my photos in graveyards.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's
No
what you're
joke.
going to find them most there anyway, I would think. Or
I
old battlefields, you're going to find them there. It doesn't pretty much
Yes.
doesn't matter what time of year it is. Although near Halloween or May 1st, well, at least according to the way the pagans believe it, that's when the veils that separate the living and the dead are the thinnest, so you can see them better. But yeah, I love going on Halloween and going into places like that and taking pictures and seeing the orbs that come back. It's wonderful.
I know, man. That trips me out. I was in the mountains. I was talking about in the very beginning of this stream, and we have a family cemetery up there, and I was taking a lot of pictures, and it was like every one there were these beautiful orbs in it, and no other pictures
Absolutely. And,
on that
and a lot of
wall of
people say,
film
oh,
had
well, they
them.
were dust mites or they were bugs or whatever.
Yeah.
No, bugs show up differently. I mean, that sort of stuff has been refuted a bunch of times as far as that goes. There's something about photography that tends to be able to capture spirits, at least, what, and I call them spirits. They could be ghosts, whatever, but the little orbs of energy that they show up,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter digital or 35 millimeter, they show up.
Yeah. Either way, I've had it on both types. Um, Gray Area says the light is the light you're going to in labor and delivery. You're being born again. You're crying and screaming because you're mourning for your past life. Dude, that is one way to look at it because I am on the fence about reincarnation. I want it to be true. So wouldn't that be crazy that, you know, your spirit, you know what I mean, is you're seeing the light, and maybe if you don't go to that light, another spirit shoots in there, another dying person, and jumps into a newborn baby. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I don't know so much about all that. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure it might happen in certain cases like that, but I'm pretty sure my son was with me from the time he started kicking, that his personality was in there, that his soul and his spirit were in there.
Now, is that just a gut feeling, or you just believe that? Like always, you think you're assigned at conception?
Um, yeah, I think I do believe that. I think that yeah, you are assigned at conception. Whether you've been somewhere else before or not, because you may not remember any of that either.
Might not
And
remember.
most people don't remember being in utero.
No, no. I
There's
had an
very few
uncle
people
who
that have ever
swore.
said, "Oh yeah, I remember what it was like." No, come on. I don't know if I
No,
believe that.
my uncle swore he believed he remembered when he was born, but I don't think there's many people like that at all. I haven't met another person who said that.
There's an
Um,
outlier on the bell curve there.
yeah, exactly. That's what it is. And hey, who's to say? Because a lot of people don't think you can have memories, below like 4 years old, but I do. I mean, I have very vivid memories of being 3 years old. Because I know the years. I mean, it was the bicentennial, and I remember so many things that happened during the bicentennial. I still remember that. And I was only 3 years old. But there are people who would argue me down and say there's no way I could remember that.
Yeah,
So
there's
who's
no
to
way
say?
you can remember. Yeah, I've got pictures of me being in a little snowsuit, and I couldn't have been more than 18 months old. No, maybe 18 months old, maybe 2 years old, whatever. But I used to go outside. Remember, I lived up north where it was cold, the frozen north. And they'd have me in a little snowsuit, and I'd go outside with a wooden spoon, metal spoon. It wouldn't matter. I would eat the snow until there was no more snow and start eating dirt.
Yeah, and you remember that, right?
Yeah,
That's
but
crazy.
there's no way I should be able to remember that.
Right. And I think some people just can. Just I don't know. Fractured and Pierce has just brought up something I was going to ask you about. She says the tarot, the I Ching, throwing the bones, old
I
fashioned.
Ching, well, there's throwing the bones, and that's typically the runes,
Now
or
I was
some
going to
other
bring up
kind
throwing the
of
bones.
symbolism carved into animal bones or knuckle bones.
Oh, so
And that's a divination.
the bones have something carved into them so they can read them once they land a certain way. Is that what it is?
Right, exactly. And the I Ching is a similar sort of a thing because the Chinese coins, and it's usually like three or six of them
Never
that you
heard.
throw out, and depending on how they fall, determines a pattern. And then you
Ah,
look up in the I Ching book what that pattern means, and it's some kind of a Confucianism.
never heard of that.
A
But
friend of mine
that
did. A friend of mine did I Ching quite a bit, and we had. It. I'm not going to say it was fun. I'm going to say it was very interesting. But it wasn't something that I really did take to. But I've heard that a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
so basically,
I also have a set of runes, and I've been known to read runes, but I'm better at the tarot.
but the
I can't do tea leaves. I can't do palms. Um,
have you ever tried to learn? I mean, you say it so matter of factly. Do you think you could learn it?
it's possible. I mean, I did extensive studies on it where I was trying to learn all of the different lines in the hand and stuff, and that
Yeah.
stuff just didn't stick. But for something about the tarot, it did, and I guess maybe that was because I was meant to read those. And I like the runes because it's part of my heritage. I am a bit Norwegian, probably not as much as I would like to be or want to claim to be, but
Right.
so I like the runes too. But yeah, the tarot's like
But
my. bread and butter.
The I Ching thing you were talking about, that kind of takes out any interpretation of the actual reader, right? If you have to go read and get a.
Yeah, unless, the individual who's reading them is so well read on all the different verses.
Mm-hmm.
You really should look it up because it can be quite involved.
Okay, okay. So it's not just as simple as throwing them out and then seeing the pattern and looking it up in a book. Okay.
It is, but it's how the pattern is derived, I think sometimes can be a bit confusing and can be complicated.
Okay, let's see back in the comments. We got Slope saying they lived in a house where the light switches would flip on and off by themselves, a bell falling off a 20-penny nail, and cold spots my dog would bark at. Others witnessed it. So
That sounds like a spirit.
yeah, it does. And that's what I was going to say. I think a lot of people have experienced this stuff, and maybe it's not.
The Fae tend to like bells. They will like a ringing of a bell, especially like silver or lead crystal bells. They tend to like those a lot.
And I'm not familiar with that term you just used. You said the Fae?
Fae, the fairies, the leprechauns,
Never.
house whites, car key gnomes.
Yeah, you said house whites earlier. Never heard that. Never heard
Yeah.
that. So if you want to expound on that, feel free.
Or what they call the wee folk, small folk, the wee folk, the Fae.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying now.
Not small folk in the sense of like Game of Thrones, where it's just us commoners.
Yeah, you saying like anything that falls into that category, like leprechauns, fairies, and gnomes and stuff like that.
Yeah, they tend to be lumped together into the wee folk. Yeah.
Okay.
Sprites, pixies, brownies.
Let's see. Joaquin, yes, she is going to do a reading. She's going to do my reading at Con of Thrones on Saturday. So, I mean, if you're there, oh my God, I'm not kidding you. This hat.
Don't pimp me out, man. Please don't pimp me out.
No, I warned you. I was going to.
I hate to phrase it that way. No, you guys. I know you guys are excited, and I would love to be able to read for everybody, but I can't.
Right. But I told you I was going to bring it up, so you know that's coming.
Yeah.
But I'm not kidding you. My hat just fell off the wall. I'm dead serious. I've got a collection of hats. I wish I could show you guys. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Which one was it that fell?
It's one I don't wear much. I haven't worn it in a long time. It's just like this trucker hat. It was hanging like this, and it just fell off. It hit the top of the bookshelf and fell on the ground while we were talking about all this stupid crap. Oh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Goodness.
Let's see here. A lot of astral projection talk in the thing. Okay,
I really wish I had more experience with that, but I really don't. I think the closest I came was having like an out-of-body experience at La Villa in Panama City Beach. I don't know if anybody's ever been there. They used to do like spring break live with MTV and stuff there back in the day, but I went to this club and I was, dancing, and they have a bunch of different types of dance clubs, and I was dancing in one of them, and I just, for a split second, I felt like I could look down and see myself dancing there on the dance floor.
Dude, now that's close. I mean, that sounds like it to me.
Yeah, no, I was close. It was about the closest I came, and to me that I felt like that was more of an out-of-body experience. I didn't really go anywhere. I stayed right there, and then I just jumped right back in again.
Okay. This might mean something to you. You might have heard these terms before, but Cheryl Birch says, she was telling Steph Snow, she is Reiki level 2.
Reiki? Nice, Reiki.
Reiki level 2.
I believe it's pronounced Reiki.
Says, I have the same problem, blocked throat chakra and solar plexus, sometimes too. That's all over my head. I have no idea what. what all that is.
Oh,
Diana
well,
Wilson.
I would say, and it's probably going to go over your head, but she might know what I'm talking about. I would say I would do a cleansing chakra meditation starting at the crown, going down to the root, and working back up again. Like open them up, blow them out, close them back up again.
Dude,
But I'm not a Reiki master of any kind. I mean, I'm just self-taught.
that is cool. No, that's cool. I like hearing that stuff. Diana Wilson says, love I Ching. Gray area
Hey,
says,
Diana, that's my friend. Hey, Diana.
oh, cool.
I can't see the chat. Yeah, she's a really, really good friend of mine.
Awesome. Welcome, Diana. Gray area says, I went to a Hindi funeral. They do some rituals to make sure your soul can escape your body. Now, that's really cool. I like that.
That is cool. I like any kind of like funerary rites or stuff like that. I think it's really neat because it shows respect for the person that's passed, and that's really cool. That's really important.
Slope says Ichiro is amazing. Ichiro Suzuki, yes, he is amazing. Yeah, 3,000 hits here, over 4,360 some hits total. That's awesome. Thank you, Slope. Thank you so much. Says beer money for Con. Thank you so very much. So let's see. So Steph Snow wants to know, what do you think? What do you feel the tarot tells us? Maybe explain that. Yeah.
Well, typically when somebody comes to me for a reading, they're having a hard time making a decision about something,
I
and they
just learned it
want
last
kind
night,
of
guys.
more clarity about maybe a given situation and which way they should go. And for me, what the tarot does is it's more like a counseling tool. I have the person shuffle the cards. I read the cards they shuffled. I don't ask them what their question is because I don't know. I don't want to know what your deal is. I'm just going to read your cards. And hopefully from there glean enough understanding of not just the issue itself, but maybe other things that you might not have thought were connected. And it just kind of opens up a pathway and a possibility. Basically, all a tarot reading is a snapshot, like a Polaroid picture of a moment in time. Anything is possible after that.
Very cool. That's great. And see, I just learned that last night, guys. She was talking to me about it, and I didn't realize that it was kind of, you're having a tough time making a decision. So you think about this and don't tell the reader and see what kind of answer you get.
Yeah,
Uh,
I typically don't want to know. I'm not one of those that's going to ask a lot of information about stuff because I don't want that to color the reading I give you. I don't want to be feeling like I'm stretching and reaching to try and make stuff connect that maybe just doesn't.
um, somebody says, oh God, can you see the chat at all?
No, uh-uh. I
Okay,
can't do both. I can either do Hangouts or
I
I
see.
could like be watching along with everyone else.
I think you need to go back and watch it because there's
I
some
will.
mischievous, really crazy talk in there. It's really funny, actually.
Oh my goodness.
um,
The dust bunnies are at it again.
Chrissy of Old Stones says, I've had Reiki done on me a couple times. It's a weird experience, but enjoyable.
Well, it's meant to be a positive cleansing thing. I think it's meant to sort of pull negative energies out of the body. Oh, Diana can
Um,
chime in on this
yeah, feel free,
if she
Diana.
wants.
Talk it up in the
If she
chat.
wants.
It looks like she is talking. I see some other things. Gray Area says, question, do crystals really work? I've been eyeing them, but hesitant on pulling the trigger. Do they effectively attract energy?
Grab a hold of it and see what you feel. If it feels like it's something you should have, then have it. If it
Oh, I
feels
see what
weird and
you're saying.
alien and kind of bizarre, then don't take it. It's probably not for you. Different crystals have different resonances depending on which ones you're looking at. And I mean, quartz comes in a million different colors. You've got amethyst, you've got rose quartz, you've got clear quartz, and they all have different properties or attributes. But what's going to resonate best with you is what's going to resonate best with you.
That's cool, man. Because I think you would know it right away, probably, when you pick it up. I could see that. I've never messed with them, but yeah, I'm open-minded to anything, and I think that's a good answer.
They
Let's
can be
see.
calming to some people. They can be energizing to some people.
Let's see here. Oh, let's see. When you have your Reiki attunement and are taught, you can see auras. Wow. You ever think you've seen an aura? Seen somebody's aura?
No, but I've been told that people have seen mine.
Me too. I've never seen one either, but I have been told that. So, all right. Let me. You got your notes right there handy?
Yes, I can grab them really quick. I actually had to plug in really quick and
Yeah,
put some more
I'm like
charge on my battery.
me too. I'm 50% right now on my phone. But what I want is to, and you may be. This was a good test run. I think there may be a part two to this. Feel free,
Sure.
maybe we could get your friend Diana because Hangouts can do up to 8 people. It's something we can
Ooh,
talk about, in the
Diana, you're
future,
gonna have to get a
and
hold of me.
and so and anybody else, sounds like we got some other knowledgeable people here. It's gonna be a really cool thing. But I just want to be sure before we get off on this one, um, that maybe you had some highlighted notes or something that you think would be really cool. I don't want you to miss anything.
Oh, well, no, the only other thing I was going to talk about as far as like when you maybe encounter like unexplained stuff. I don't know. I talked about, cleansing places that you lived before you moved in and stuff. And maybe sometimes a lot of people don't think about it, the fact that, living people can leave residual energies behind that can be fed upon by maybe someone else. Maybe, if you are experiencing stuff, pretty much it doesn't matter wherever you are, you could be the cause of it. You could maybe have latent, what they call PK or psychokinetic abilities. And when I say that, I know the immediate image for me is like Jean Grey from the X-Men, or Firestarter.
Yeah.
But it's like that. And I know that way back in the day, there was this, like the school or institution or whatever that was called Silva Mind Control. And this is something from like way back in the 70s. This is something my ex-husband would have known about. But where it would be like, Professor X's school for, exceptional children. It
Right.
was one of these places where you could learn how to do like levitation, like, the Buddhist monks do, and, all kind of stuff that really wasn't legal or mainstream at all.
Wow, man.
But that, if you're under a lot of stress, maybe if you, and you may not even know, a lot
Yeah.
of people have absolutely no idea that they might have some kind of latent, like clairvoyant, PK, some kind of a sixth sense. I think almost everybody has a little something, but it's a little bit different because we're all unique, of course. But it could be that, activity that you're seeing, like goofy stuff, like doors slamming and stuff like that. It could be a person under a lot of emotional stress, and especially if there's a lot of like emotional energy, tense emotional energy sort of hanging around in a place. It sort of kind of, makes it ripe.
I agree. Yeah, man.
That
And
was pretty
see,
much the only, I mean, I don't think that there was really anything else we hadn't touched on other than, like you have people that, can read tarot cards. Well, it's not magic per se. It seems magical, it seems mysterious, but once you understand it and you have your techniques and you understand what the cards mean in different places, in reference to different things, then, yes, it's still magical in the way that it's done. It's mysterious, but it's explainable. Whereas, PK, that's harder to explain. I think that there are a lot of scientists that are doing that now, like putting people who, may think that they're gifted in some way. They're, doing CAT scans and stuff like that, checking their brains to see what parts of their brains are firing off when they're doing stuff
yes. I'll tell
or
you,
attempting to do stuff.
Chrissy of Oldstones has made a good statement here. Says you can feel residual energy if you've ever walked into a room where people were fighting.
Yes,
And I,
absolutely. And that's
I
exactly what
can.
I'm talking about.
Yes,
is you
man.
put that energy out there, and that's human energy, but it's still hanging in the air like a fart.
That is so. It is. It's hanging right there in the air, and you walk in, and you're like, you're looking around,
What the hell just happened in here? Yeah. What
and
the
they're
hell?
trying
Did
to.
somebody, what the hell?
Yeah. I was gonna say, damn it, it was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, okay. This is a weird little side story here. My grandma, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, my grandfather was a truck driver, and he ended up, leaving her for a lady he met on the road, and she was devastated. Right? It destroyed
Oh,
her for a long, long time.
that's
But
awful.
during the time where she was suspecting that he was, she went to a palm reader. And now you know, don't forget that I was young, so I wasn't involved in all the adult talk. I just remember hearing some conversations. But basically, in a nutshell, this lady gave my grandmother some homework, told her to go home and get like a clip of his hair and put an egg in his put an egg in his slipper, his under his bed, and overnight or something. And then anyway, she had to bring the hair and the egg back to her. And if I remember right, like if she broke the egg and there was hair, his hair was in the egg, he was cheating. And if she did it and it wasn't, he wasn't. But the hair was in the egg. And
Wow.
yeah, and
I
so
would have liked to have been there for that because I mean, I'm sorry, I am a witch. I don't know if that
no, that was
was
the end
kind of
basically.
made
I mean, that
plain
was the
at
end
all,
story.
but it really is, and that I would love to have been an audience to see something like that. I think that would have blown me away.
Yeah, because it was slimy. She said it was a fresh egg, and there was just his black hair in there floating around when she cracked it in the bowl. So
Wow,
again,
that to
all
me,
this
that's
stuff.
like uber cool gypsy
Yeah,
voodoo Santeria, really tied into energies that I couldn't even begin to comprehend. That's amazing and astounding and awesome.
she was in our town for at least 40 years. Her name was Mother Roberts, and it was a very nice house she had too. A lot of people went there with questions to her. I remember that. She had a big
Well,
sign of a
yeah.
palm up on the highway. I mean, it was really cool. But yeah,
Oh,
sure enough,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because hey, even if you don't buy that stuff, it was cool to have a lady for people like that to go unload on, and get this stuff off their chest. It's almost like a therapist. You know what I mean? To have
Well,
somebody.
right. And that's why I said that the cards are, like a therapy tool. It can help you kind of get to really what's bothering you, maybe, if you're open to the experience and maybe open to the really going, into, all right, where's this stemming from? Why am I worried about this? What am I concerned about? What am I not seeing?
Right. Yeah. Travis. Yeah. I see, man. He's really got this astral projection thing down pat. Feel free, man. Feel free. You got my email, man. It's right in the description of the video, dustonthethrone@gmail.com. I would love to read some of those stories, man. What I read in the comments here tonight was pretty crazy. I skimmed over it, but I saw you were talking about. I just didn't want to dominate the whole time talking about your astral projections. But yeah, it says he astral projected from Pennsylvania to Virginia one time, and his brother saw his silhouette at at his house in Virginia. That's pretty
That's
cool,
really cool. No,
right?
that is really cool.
So feel free to type it all up in the comments here, or type it to me and tell me what I'm allowed to share. I'd love to hear some of these fascinating stories, man. Um,
Right. No, that's awesome.
but I saw Kyle Dubs was leaving. Good night, Kyle. I hope you had a
Good
good
night,
time
Kyle. Thanks
tonight.
for hanging out.
Um, so hopefully you've had fun tonight. With this, I think this one we've got hour. We've probably gone an hour and 35 minutes, and this is a good starter for me. I enjoyed having you, and if we could get just
Thank
a
you.
better
I had a lot of
connection,
fun.
because you're clear as a bell now. We just got to get you a good connection, and
A good
you
video
know,
connection would be great too, but that's all right. No,
yeah,
maybe
no,
this
that's what I'm
time I won't have
talking
to put
about.
makeup
Yeah.
on next time.
Oh, come on, no. Listen. Oh, but you know, see, there's some other people saying they wouldn't mind being on the stream here or whatever, but right now, we've got this little thing going on, so I'll talk to you about it and behind the scenes, and we'll put together a little team and come up with a
Heck
plan
yeah.
and do a part two of our little paranormal, whatever you want to call it. We might have to come up with our own name because I think this is more than ghost stories. I think we had a really we ran the gamut tonight, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
And I think we can go further too. I think it'll be fun. I think there's other stuff that we can discuss that's just sort of, I don't know, out of the norm.
Right, and maybe what we can do is, since we're going to make this a series, possibly, is have like a night because I see Gray Area has commented says voodoo. I mean, maybe we could do a night where I would actually study on voodoo or something, and we talk about voodoo or we talk about whatever, and kind of
Yeah,
so
definitely. That would be
it's more
fun to research
structured
and
that
put out there
way.
what I found and
Yeah,
put it up against what maybe other people have experienced because I really haven't experienced a lot when it comes to that. I've only just heard quite a bit. And the same thing with Santeria.
exactly. Chrissy of Oldstones says, ask you about empaths.
Go
Do you
ask me
know?
about empaths. Yes, I am an empath.
And see, to
I'll
me,
I guess I can tell everybody the story that I told you about going the most recent experience with being an empath in a way that probably wasn't the best one, but I did it to myself. It was my own fault. I went to a concert up in Oklahoma, up at one of the casinos up there, and it was Steve Miller Band and Peter Frampton. And Peter Frampton opened for Steve Miller Band, and it was a great, fantastic concert. But I was the youngest person in that room. I could pretty much bet. And I was having a good time, and I opened myself up to have like a new, neat experience going to see a concert that I'm pretty sure I would not ever have the opportunity to see again. These guys aren't getting any younger,
that's
and they
exactly
still
right.
jammed, and it was still an awesome concert. But then I started feeling every 60, 70, 80 year old person when they're in firmaments, and I just started crouching down under the, I don't know, it seemed like the overbearing feeling of everybody's aches and pains.
Do you feel?
Dude, that was awesome though. He really did it. And we were all, and everybody was like screaming and yelling, but nobody got up and was jumping around. I mean, it
Exactly.
was strange, but it was
I
still a
know,
really good concert. I mean, he still sounds awesome and he still rocks, man.
dude. Yeah, I'm sure both of them do, man. That's a great concert right there. That's a
Yeah, it was
good
a
concert.
great combination. It really was. I just wish I could have seen the whole thing. I should have known better and shielded myself. That, like I said, and there's probably comments now that are saying you should have shielded. Yeah, I know I should have.
I saw Billy Joel, Elton John face to face. Did you happen to see that? That was
No, I would have loved to have been there for that.
oh, those grand pianos rise up out of the stage and they're
Oh
facing
yes, I
each
would have
other
loved it.
and they're
I'm
just
such
going
a
back
band
and
geek
forth.
anyway. That would have been
And
great.
they were doing each other's songs too, and that was really cool. I mean,
That's
think
awesome when
about
you can
that.
do that.
That was really cool. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Really, man. This was you see, I mean, her and I both we're learning.
Yeah,
This
thanks
will be
for showing
interesting.
support. This is my first YouTube live stream, by the way. So thanks,
Yes.
James Dust on the Throne, for having little Miss Martingus Twombly come in after all of my comments and catcalled.
Yes, you really did. This is gonna get better and better. This will be a cool recurring series on my channel. I would love to have it, and it might inspire you to do your own thing, man, where you can actually go into detail on the things that you're passionate about. Something to think about. You never know.
Yeah,
I
that would
never
be
thought I
cool.
would be here doing this at all. So seriously, guys, come back tomorrow night. I will be um, on. I'll be a guest on. Damn it, sir. I mean, Lady Wolverton's Den, and we're going to be doing a chapter review, um, and it's going to be Eddard 7 in book 1. So check that out. That'll be tomorrow night. I definitely will tweet about it as well. I look forward to that. And yeah, Jen Wolverton's Den is what she's saying in the comments. But yeah, Eddard 7. See, yep. You didn't think I'd
Be
remember
there or
that,
you're
did
missing
you?
out,
Hell no.
people.
And it's going to be fun. And I look forward to doing this again, Marty. Thank you so much for dropping by and hanging out, man. It's been fantastic.
Thanks, James. It's been a pleasure, man. It's been a real blast. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and your comments. I loved it. We'll definitely be doing this again.
All right, guys. So until next time, man, I love you. Nothing but love and Valar Tadias.